We have 1,406 cases of coronavirus in Victoria. That's 22 more than yesterday. To give you a breakdown, and Brett can go to this in more detail in a moment, but 19 of those are in connection with the meatworks, where there's been an outbreak. I think you're all well aware of that. 2 of those cases are overseas or return travellers from overseas who are quarantined in hotels as per the arrangements we put in place some time ago, and there's 1 other case which is still being investigated. So 1406, 22 more than yesterday. There remain a number of people in hospital, and a number of people, of course, in intensive care, and those numbers are basically stable on the numbers that were given to you over the course of the weekend. Now, the really important number, though, that I want to reveal to you today is that yesterday, in what is the biggest single day of testing, I think, in the nation throughout this entire pandemic, Victorians, 13,000 Victorians, presented to get tested and were tested. That is an amazing result, and I just want to say how proud and how pleased I am and how grateful I am for every single Victorian who came forward and went to one of more than 90 sites right across the state, whether it be a drive-through, queuing often for a lengthy amount of time because there's a lot of people who are there getting tested, or in any of the other testing sites. I can't emphasise enough how pleased, how proud and how grateful I am, and all Victorians are. We've asked people to come forward, even with the most moderate of symptoms, the mildest of symptoms, that these tests, these 100,000 tests we're looking to do by the end of the week, are absolutely critical to the decisions that we make about next steps, about creating options. We've got to go and have a really good look and make sure that we know exactly how much virus is out there before we make decisions that we have to get right. There's no kind of do-over here. You've got to do it properly. Do it once and do it properly. We don't want a situation like so many other countries where they've wound back restrictions and then had to reimpose them. In fact, go to an even harder lockdown. I can also report to you that just under 56,000 people have been tested since the blitz, so we're at about the halfway mark, and we are in fact we are ahead of the 50,000, which would be half of the 100,000 we have aimed to do over the course of a 2-week period. This is a massive task. I want to thank Brett and all of his team. They've done an amazing job. Big task to get that many test sites up and running. But the real story of the day is 13,000 tests yesterday, more than we've seen on a single day in any part of the country throughout this whole pandemic. It's a massive effort, and it only happens when people listen to the messaging and take time out of their day to make a contribution to their safety and the safety of every single Victorian. Now, whilst those numbers are impressive, we won't get the results for a day or so, and let's wait and see what kind of virus story that tells, how much disease is out there. Those tests will be a really important part of that. Now, National Cabinet meets a couple of times this week. I'll be back before you to update you on some of the work of National Cabinet. All the way along, we've always said, if we follow the rules, if we stay the course, if we stay at home, then we will have options. Options that are the envy of the world, options that will see us to the other side of this faster and in much better shape than would be the case if we had allowed this to get away from us, if fundamentally we'd allowed our frustration to get the better of us, if we'd not followed the rules, if we'd not recognised fundamentally that everyone has a stake in this. Everyone. So I want to thank every single Victorian who's given a lot, given up a lot. It is a strategy that's working, but as we see with the outbreak at this particular meatworks, a positive case at a school yesterday, this is fragile, and none of us can assume, because we're frustrated, and I understand why, it's not easy to live this way, but none of us can assume, just because we're frustrated, that this is over. It is far from over, and we have to stay the course. We are hopeful that we will have options that many other countries around the world simply have never had. But in choosing which of those options and which of those rules that we potentially relax in a week or so, we need to make sure that we get this right. We don't want to have a cycle, if you like, where we've achieved good results, we let go some of these rules, too many of them too fast, for instance, and then we're back here in a month's time having to reimpose even tougher sanctions. That will not help the economy. That will not help any individual or any family across Victoria. Victorians have made it pretty clear to me that they want certainty, and that's exactly what we're trying to provide. As I said, these test numbers will continue to ramp up. We'll have more and more results for you throughout the course of the week. National Cabinet has a couple of meetings. We'll be happy to talk to you about what comes out of those meetings. And of course we have the state of emergency, which expires next Monday, the 11th of May. Essentially, thank you so much to every single Victorian, 13,000 of them yesterday, who came forward to get tested. That is a magnificent effort, and I really can't say enough just how pleased and proud and grateful I am. However, if you have not been tested and you have even the mildest of symptoms, please come forward and get tested. Ring the number. If we have to come to you, we will, or we'll give you all the information you need to get to a drive-through, whatever it might be. That testing has never been more important in giving us the options we all want, so that we can perhaps have some different settings, some different rules as we head into the next month or so.